Welcome to Leading Organizations That Matter, a podcast on the topics of leadership, organizational culture, and finding meaning and purpose in our work. I'm the host, Ray Spadoni, former CEO, current consultant, author, and speaker. Today's topic is, You Lied to Me, the Perils of M&A. I have been involved in a number of mergers and acquisitions during my career. Most have gone quite well after a number of ups and downs, mostly downs at first, but a few have not been as successful. M&A, as I've written and spoken about frequently in the past, is a tricky business. This is true for many reasons, including the complexity of deciding whether to pursue this strategy in the first place, the importance of clearly seeing the pros and cons of possible options, navigating the negotiating and regulatory approval processes, and also communicating with employees throughout the process. I'll focus on the last of these for this week's episode, the importance of keeping employees in the loop and engaged during a time that can be scary and uncertain. Now, in my management career, I've always prioritized clear, open, and very direct communications with employees during the merger and acquisition processes I've led, though acknowledge that, quote, clear, open, and very direct can be in the eyes of the beholder, and not everyone will feel as though I was saying what I meant and meaning what I said every step of the way. I don't love that fact personally, but I've learned that I must accept it. So too do all leaders who pursue M&A strategies. I recently saw that a former colleague from a company I once led posted on social media that he had fallen victim to an affiliation that was not accurately described to him as it was taking shape. Now, since I was the one responsible for messaging that affiliation, I took his comment as a blow, and that stung. But some further reflection has led me to a few conclusions. First, confidentiality agreements between parties can become a relevant factor here. As the leader of an organization in such a process, I may want to say X, Y, and Z to my team, but the other party might be okay with me saying X, might wordsmith Y to death, and might put their foot down and make it a non-starter if I dare mention Z. And that other party may have good reasons for this because of the implications for their employees, thus creating a sometimes delicate dance when it comes to the precise manner in which some communication plans unfold. Second, the word affiliation is often used to describe such transactions because the specific details of that transaction are still being worked out. And there are many shades of gray when it comes to a merger versus an affiliation. And so, quote, affiliation can be a catch-all descriptor, not out of design, but out of convenience. For example, I once worked for a large nonprofit that affiliated with another. Due to tax and corporate law reasons, my company was absorbed into the other, so they acquired us, right? Well, the board for the new company was comprised of 50% Company A trustees and 50% Company B trustees. All assets and liabilities were completely blended. So some said this was a merger, others an acquisition. To avoid the confusion and needless debate, everyone simply chose to say it's an affiliation. Third, the leadership team of the newly established company are compelled to honor the terms of the transaction, but there are also many shades of gray here. That team may make decisions that seem to go against the intention of the original plan. This happens all the time, and it certainly could be for good reason. Things change, and that new team has to respond to what's happening at the time. Former leaders may have communicated something in earnest that didn't fully pan out down the line. Finally, and this is probably most important of all, leaders who are contemplating a merger or acquisition must honor the past, remember the identity and mission of their organization, and certainly fulfill the wishes of the board. But they must also look into the future and try to predict how things will turn out if they stay the course. That is, if they do not pursue the affiliation. If an affiliation does take place, then all will see and understand the consequences of that decision. But no one will ever see what would have happened had they not done it. Instead, everyone will compare the certain present of the affiliation against typically happier historical times. Mergers and acquisitions are challenging for all these reasons, but in the case of the last one mentioned above, leaders will always be second-guessed for having led their organizations down a bumpier path. No one will ever know if staying the course would have been even bumpier. Leaders have to make this determination, and then they have to live with the consequences. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll consider subscribing to this podcast and providing a review on Apple Podcasts or your platform of choice. That helps a lot. Please feel free to learn more about me and my work at redsaleadvisors.com.